On behalf of PLD, it gives me great pleasure to introduce this episode of the series of curated conversations on ways of seeing and being. This part of the series is about initiatives in the 1980s and 1990s, which came to define feminist visions of justice. This episode is on the Mahila Samakhya, a state development program that began in the 80s on rural women's education for equality. Our guest for this episode is Abha Bhaiya, who's in conversation with Kalyani Menon Sen to talk about the early years and the highlights in the journey of Mahila Samakhya and the many women who were part of it. A warm welcome to both of you, Abha and Kalyani. Now, just brief introductions. Abha Bhaiya is a co-founder of Jagori, a women's resource group. She was also the co-founder of the National Resource Group of Mahila Samakhya. Kalyani Menon is a feminist researcher and activist whose work has focused on the impacts of neoliberal economic policies on women and their rights. She has been associated with the UNDP, Gender at Work, and was also a member of the National Resource Group of Mahila Samakhya. What began as a program on education for women's equality amongst the most marginalized women at the grassroots, covering many states, became an inspiring story of women's collectivization, leadership, and transformational justice. We look forward to hearing more. With these opening words, I invite Kalyani to begin the conversation with Abha. Thank you.
So just to set the historical thread unwinding, let me start by asking you what inspired you to join the Mahila Samakhya program?
To be honest, it is Anil Bodia who invited me to his office as an education secretary and asked me to do the first training of the Sakhis, the most significant kind of actors of this program in Varanasi as a pilot, and the Dutch ministry representatives were going to come at the end of the training, and Sharda Jain was also with them because in 1975, during the emergency, I wrote a letter to Anil Bodia that we would like to continue working in Telangana and we need some financial support. I didn't tell him what we wanted to do, he knew it, and he awarded 10 adult literacy kind of group classes in different villages to us. And that's how we continued working. And my relationship with him as a very special administrative officer began that time. And he's also from Jaipur, so that was another connection. Now that continued because after that WDP, which is one of the very, very significant milestone of a government program in the state of Rajasthan, was initiated in late 70s, early 80s. And Kamla and I and Runu, many of us did trainings of Sathins and also Saheli. Then when he invited me for the Mahila Samakhya program, first of all, the name was amazingly enticing for me. Education for Women's Equality was the name in English, which was in translation as Mahila Samakhya, which has a different meaning. It means really a kind of conversation and dialogue on equality or with equals, which I thought was also an amazing idea that he suggested. But prior to that, Kalyani, the concept note that was done in consultation with Anil, who had a vision, with Srilata Batliwala and Vimla. And they are the ones who actually drafted the first concept note of this program. When you say what brought me to it, it was also the feminist and women's movements engagement, that representative of women's organized women's movement, who actually had initiated this with him. Another thing that really kind of attracted me to this program was the scale. Jagori was a small kind of a feminist organization. We had limited outreach. And this program actually provided a much large territory to work also on the issue of women's equality, but with a complete trust in the possibility of women without literacy skill from oppressed caste and class background to take the entire concept and vision of equality forward. Because we cannot, as an NGO, go on scale. And this program offered a huge scale and possibility to work in UP to begin with. And we were already in UP doing some training. The other issue that seemed extremely important was the partnership without any condition. When he asked me to do the first training, I said the contract will have to be with Jagori and not with me. He accepted, which wasn't easy for him. Then the second was that if you're giving us the training as an assignment, then we will decide the course of the training, and the state will have no right to interfere or give us a module to conduct. Now that was another very attractive offer for Jagori team, for the Jagori team. Renuka uh, was with us. You were there. Runu was there. So Deepta was there. Jaya, all the Nirantaris today. They were all kind of joined us, and we became a unit within the Jagori, a Mahila Samakhya unit. Of course, there was a backlash. The women in Saheli and outside in the women's movement said that I had collaborated with the state, and therefore I was a traitor. I was compromising on our feminist politics, on our autonomy, and I faced all that. But till today, I think that was my best engagement on a government program that gave us such amazing freedom. So I'll stop there. Uh, there are so many other pieces of how we went about it. And the first pilot training actually made us very confident that we can really achieve something that he was envisaging, but handing it over to us.
Apart from this, that it was in the state but not controlled by the state, apart from this, looking back now, what was it that really made Mahila Samakhya different, not just from state programs, but from the large canvas of women's programs in the country? What made it different?
And I think it was really an innovation in imagination as to what the rural poor women can do. That trust that he placed. I think what actually was different, that as we said, there was no dictation on what this program would look like after our intervention. Second, that training of these very poor women with no literacy skills and also from different caste background was an essential prerequisite. So nobody could jump into the program or join the program without that training and orientation, which actually created that feminist ethos and feminist ideology on the ground in these very remote rural villages. It also redefined what is education for women with no education, quote unquote. So that redefinition was really that rural poor women with no literary skill can be actually educationists. They can be the trainer. They can be the agent of transformation because the belief in the potential of their wisdom and their life experiences was something that was so significant and that led the program. That the kind of resolution of conflict that these rural women provided was very different from what we were doing in Saheli and Dhaka, in urban center, with the police, with the community, with neighborhood. I thought after a long time, they became my gurus. Books on one side, my masters in social work on another side. But really, what we call the real gurus in your life that make you learn very differently the way you can conduct your life and actually overcome and manipulate and find right ways to resolve a program without hurting the sentiments and yet being very certain as to what they were doing. So that was another very important point, that education was redefined in this program. And third was there was no target in this program. No target was given to us. So many women with so many literacy skills, uh, so many villages. No, that was again for me very very important, significant shift when most of the government programs give you targets to share an ideology together on the same platform, and formation of the national resource group. All of us were feminists in the group. We were all women except Anil and हमारे एक और डिप्टी डायरेक्टर थे साउथ इंडियन फ्रेंड, he was there, and that also kept looking at the program critically and shifting it in the direction that was actually should be taken by the program. And that solidarity, that coming together, that platform that all of us could create together and listen to each other and also complement each other. I saw that at two levels: the complementing that happened within our group and the complementing that happens in the villages with these Sakhis and Sahelis, that they had different skills, different knowledge, and they complemented each other as well. So I think the program challenged the entire notion of a competition, that we don't need to compete. We can complement and build a different society and different vision.